Welcome back to Nordic in History. Today we're talking about a rifle in my collection that might not be the rarest or in the best of condition. However, it's the story behind this rifle that really makes it special. This rifle was in fact owned by Norwegian resistance leader Sigvart Fossen. Fossen operated in the northern Eidskog area and helped Norwegian refugees over the border into Sweden during the war. This sort of resistance member would also be known as a grenselos, as they were locally known in the area and knew the forest by heart. Fossen himself, in fact, was an avid hunter, and that's the way he knew the forest around him. Now let's get a quick overview of the rifle before we go into the details. What we know about this rifle is that it started off as a model of 1894 civilian Krag-Jorgensen rifle produced in 1908. You also might notice that the stock on this is not original. That is actually because it's a homemade stock, most likely made by Sigvart himself. Also, the barrel at some point has been replaced with a heavier, more accurate barrel. This might be because Sigvart was an avid hunter and probably used this to hunt deer and elk. Also, we can see that a rear sight has been changed, and this is a micrometer sight that we'll be getting into more details later. You might also notice the overall condition of this rifle is not pristine, and that's because this has been used. It's a proper rifle that's seen action, and in fact we'll be talking about that later as well. Alright, let's get into the details. Starting with the buttstock, it's clear that this isn't the original piece. The stock had been replaced, most likely handcrafted at some point to replace the factory-issued one. The craftsmanship suggests practicality over aesthetics. It's functional, solid, and built for use, not display. This reflects the character of the man who carried it. Sigvart Fossen was never one for unnecessary refinement. He was a practical man who worked with what he had. However, what remains original is the butt plate, and it tells us something important about the rifle's origin. On early civilian Krag models, specifically those produced up to serial number 14800, these rifles featured a much simpler buttplate design, without the typical compartment for cleaning tools that you'd find on military-issue Krags. This rifle fits that early pattern, suggesting it's one of those earlier civilian models. For context, Fossen was born in 1890 in Eidskog, a rural area bordering Finnskogen. Life was tough, growing up on a small tenant farm. His family heavily relied on the surrounding forests for food. Hunting wasn't just a pastime, it was survival. Often, it meant illegal hunting during off-seasons, just to put food on the table. There's even a story about the local police visiting the family, suspecting illegal hunting. But despite suspicions, no evidence was ever found, mostly because the freshly hunted elk were hidden behind the house, far from prying eyes. Moving along to the receiver, you'll notice that the markings are nearly illegible. Years of use and wear had taken their toll. However, based on available records and the rifle's features, it's likely this rifle was manufactured in 1908 as a civilian model of 1894 Krag. This timing aligns with an important chapter in Fossen's life. At just 18 years old, like many young Norwegians of his generation, Fossen left for the United States. He carried nothing more than a small suitcase still kept by his family today, and started a new life from scratch. In America, he took any job that came his way. He worked as a plumber, carpenter, and even a roofer. Whatever paid enough to get by. And often, he didn't get any real experience. But that never stopped him. He simply figured things out as he went. 10 years later, Fossen returned to Norway with enough savings to buy his own piece of land. A significant achievement for someone who had left with nothing. The farm, called Ulriksfoss, became not just his home, but a symbol from how far he had come. It wasn't a large estate, but it was his, and that meant everything. Now, looking at the action itself, the Krag rifle is renowned for its smooth and reliable bolt action. It's known to be easy to use and dependable in almost any condition. This action would have served Fossen well, whether on the hunting grounds or in more dangerous situations. Beyond being a farmer, Fossen was also a skilled hunter and accomplished competition shooter, maintaining his connection to the land and the skills that had sustained his families for generations. One of the most notable changes on this rifle is the rear sight. The original factory sight has been replaced with a Schuss patent micrometer sight, a clear sign that the rifle was adapted for more than just casual use. Civilian shooters often replace their standard sights with more advanced alternatives to achieve better precision, particularly in competitive shooting. This modification reflects Fossen's dedication to marksmanship. Throughout his life, he was deeply involved in shooting competitions, constantly refining his skills. He even collaborated with Jens Fredbo, a renowned Norwegian marksman and two-time national shooting champion. Together, they worked on a custom rifle. Fredbo crafted the stock, while Fossen forged the barrel himself. For Fossen, Precision shooting wasn't just a pastime, it was a passion and a skill developed over decades of practice. Moving forward to the barrel, we can see another significant modification. This isn't the original barrel. It's been replaced with a thicker, more accurate barrel. For someone like Fossum, who valued precision in both hunting and competition, upgrading the barrel would have been a logical choice. A thicker barrel generally offers more stability and accuracy, essential for both competitive shooting and practical use in the field. But this rifle extends far beyond sports or craftsmanship. During the German occupation of Norway in World War II, Fossum's role shifted from hunter and marksman to resistance leader. He became the head of the Milorg resistance group of northern Eidskog. His deep familiarity with the forests made him an invaluable asset, particularly in helping refugees escape across the Swedish border. During the war, this rifle wasn't on display. It was hidden as many other rifles were. Out of sight, yet always within reach. Fossum kept it concealed in a secret compartment beneath the potato bin. It was a quiet form of defiance, always ready should the need arise to defend himself, his family, or those seeking refuge from the occupation. There is a story passed down through his family of a moment when Fossum had to use this rifle in the most serious way. It was said that during one of his missions as a guide for refugees, he was forced to shoot a German soldier, a grim reminder of the harsh choices faced by those involved in the resistance. The only thing he said about the incident was, "It was either him or me." Beyond his direct involvement in the resistance, Fossum's contributions likely extended to aiding some of Norway's most renowned heroes. It's believed that he may have helped Gunnar Sønsteby, one of the most decorated resistance fighters in Norwegian history, cross the border into Sweden. Sønsteby himself once recalled his connection to Fossum, saying, "I have stayed overnight many times at your grandfather's house without your grandmother even knowing about it." Sønsteby also spoke of Fossum's invaluable role in guiding refugees, highlighting his deep familiarity with the forests. Sigvart knew these forest areas like the back of his hand and led us along paths and rough terrain that the Germans didn't know about. Given this connection, it's likely that Fossum may have personally helped Sønsteby cross the border into Sweden, using his knowledge of hidden trails to navigate the dangerous landscape and to avoid German patrols. This rifle isn't just a tool, it's a living piece of history. It witnessed the journey of a man who went from poor hunter in the forests of Eidskog to a landowner, community leader, and wartime resistance fighter. It was there during moments of survival, defiance, and courage, carried through some of the darkest times in Norway's history. From hunting illegal elks in the early 1900s to secret missions across the Swedish border, this Krag was more than just a firearm. It was a symbol of resistance, resourcefulness, and quiet bravery. And in remembering Sigvart Fossum, we are reminded that history isn't just written in books, it's carried, sometimes hidden, in the hands of ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions regarding this rifle, feel free to comment them down below, or if you have any other questions as well, feel free to comment them down there as well. If you feel like this video deserves it, consider leaving a like. It'll share the story, and of course more people will watch the video. And as usual, if you want to learn more about Nordic arms and history, consider subscribing. Until the next one, take care. Bye bye.